Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the football experience where we try to laugh at results and then karma hits us back hard. Well, at least me.
Man.
At least me. But before we get into that, we're talking about historical leaders. Talking about Genghis Khan. I don't know. We'll let the fans in on it. Apparently, 0.5% of the world's population has a Genghis Khan gene, or is a descendant of him. So, and you know what though? You know how they have those DNA tests that are like become popular over the last like 5 to 10 years. People can find out.
Yeah.
This isn't sponsored, but you know, if any one of those DNA labs wanna sponsor a video, we'll be more than happy to plug them. But right now, I'm not mentioning one name until they come
Good
to us
call,
with an
good
offer.
call. Business decision,
Yeah,
especially.
yeah, no name drops. But people can Google it anyway, so whatever. Caleb, yeah, we're gonna laugh at some results, but then I'm not laughing. I'm a little bit. I don't know what to think of it, but we'll get into that one later. We'll try to go through things chronologically. Champions League. What'd you make of it? Get started right there. You can pick the game that you want to get started on.
There was I don't know how much can we really say about the Champions League? How much were you paying attention to the second leg ties? Which one got your attention the most?
Probably AC Napoli because
And
Inter Benfica seemed okay for what the first half was 1-1, was it?
yeah, but Inter scored the first goal, and from that point you're just like,
Yeah. And then Bayern Man City, like once I saw that Bayern fluffed, like they had 2 or 3 great chances to score, like I think around the 20th minute, 15th minute, something like that, like so decently early on to at least get one back. And once I saw them missing those chances, I'm like, this is dead. Like, had they have scored those, they could have made it interesting, but yeah, like,
well,
and then once City got their
it
goal,
went
once City
0-0
got
at
their,
half time, didn't it?
yeah, but like once you're at 0-0 half time, like if that was Bayern, say middle of the table Bundesliga or bottom of the table Bundesliga or some like group stage Champions League, I'd be like, okay, yeah, they can still get 3 goals back in one half, but against City and against a City that's ramping up their form, yeah, it's just a bridge too far. They shot themselves in the foot in the first leg, and then City got their first, like they had a penalty and then they didn't score from that, but oh yeah, hang on. Once they had that penalty, didn't Sane have like a brilliant 1v1 and then he put it just wide, like
Yeah.
straight after?
Yeah.
Yeah. Once I saw that, I was like,
I think it was before the penalty. It might have been before the penalty, in fact.
oh, I'm knocking my light. Yeah, well, oh well. I think but I think they might have had a really good chance after the penalty as well, which they fluffed.
All right, let's start on this game. I thought we were going to do Napoli Milan, but I think it's probably fair to start on this one. And you were saying if that was a mid-table Bundesliga team or group stage Champions League opponent, then maybe you could see them getting 3. The other thing I'll say, if that was a Nagelsmann team, maybe you could see them getting 3.
Yeah.
Because they haven't really blitzed anyone with Tuchel. It's been very basic. It's been boring, like I said, after the weekend. I shared your sentiment that, well, I think you alluded to it. My big takeaway was after seeing the second leg how disappointed I was in Bayern. Not in the second leg, in the first leg. Because in the second leg, they showed us what they should have been doing in the first leg.
Yep. 100%.
And I know it's a home ground advantage. I know you can see the second goal by a player who he's a parody of himself, is he not? Is he not just a caricature of himself at this point, Upamecano? Because it's like,
I'm making a stick.
He lives up to it, and I know. Look, the penalty. Let's touch on the penalty quickly, because I haven't heard this said. But Mark Bosnich was sort of alluding to it on the commentary we get over here. And he was... Most of the sentiment was, how can you give that for a penalty? And I mostly agree. I don't think that should be given as a penalty.
It hit like the
But
underside of his elbow, like around here,
yeah. And like the head was a little bit away from the body, but he ran up like it was behind his arms. But my problem with it... So that's my first problem. I don't think it was a penalty. That's first thing off the bat. Especially because the shot was going more central to the goal and it actually disadvantaged Sommer by taking that deflection. So in that case, it's just play on, okay? It's just a deflection. If you get a clear advantage, if he stops it and he blocks it down to the ground or something, then maybe we're talking. So I don't think it should be given. But he ran up, he did everything right. And this is Upamecano's performances to a T. He did everything right. He ran up, he had his hands behind his back. But then in that moment, I'm just thinking, what would a really good centre-back do? What would a really good centre-back do when that shot is coming in? If I'm thinking John Terry, if I'm thinking Carlos Puyol, they're not turning their back. They're getting their head in the way. They're getting their chest in the way. They're getting whatever part of their body that is not their hands in the way. But he gets all the way there and then at the last moment turns his back. And it's just like, dude, that just sums you up. I hate to say it because I think he's talented. I think he has all the gifts. Maybe he can turn it around and become a really good number 2. But at this stage, he is soft. He's soft. His performances are soft. The goal he gives away in the first leg, soft. And they give it away this penalty because he's soft. And it's a really bad criticism to label at a player, but everything I've seen in his Bayern career, the fact that he's not living up to the pressure of a move to Bayern Munich just suggests that, for me, he's soft. And this goes into the point of the problem for Bayern and why maybe ultimately, even if Tuchel got it right in the first leg, maybe it wouldn't have mattered, is because you alluded to it with the chances they had. Well, no Robert Lewandowski, no world-class number 9. Everyone's been like, oh, where's Choupo-Moting? He needs to be playing. And then when he plays, it's like, well, you never really expected him to win with Choupo-Moting. It's like, you can't have it both ways. Which way do you want it? So, but we could see it. We asked the question, I think months ago, can Bayern win the Champions League with this guy up front? And we were both like, I don't think so. I mean, you could get lucky. So there's the all right, let's stay on the front area of the pitch then. Can you quite believe that the player who finished second in the Ballon d'Or this last season, the player who was their marquee signing over the summer, the player who was meant to be not a like-for-like replacement for Lewandowski, but the replacement in terms of the star coming into that front line, can you believe that he doesn't start either of these games in a Champions League quarterfinal against a team he knows very well? When your team is short on goals, I am fully, and you're not going to believe it, the ex-Liverpool player, I'm fully behind him in this case. But how is he not? He's brought into the club to start these games. And I just don't understand how he doesn't start the game. And they went Gnabry in the first leg, horrible. Choupo-Moting, even then, I'd still go Mane over Choupo-Moting. I know people have been asking for Choupo-Moting because of the presence he brings, but for me, it has to be the guy who finished, the guy with the pedigree, the guy who's won this competition, was a big part of that team, and the guy you brought in to be a big part of quarterfinals in the Champions League. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on the whole? I guess we touched on the Sadio Mane saga, but the feel around it, who's right, who's wrong, sort of thing.
The not having him play or start in the first leg was egregious, I reckon, especially considering Gnabry. Especially considering Gnabry hasn't shone since Flick left. Under Flick, he looked like a world beater.
Remember that hat trick at was it 4 or 5? It was some ridiculous number at White Hart Lane, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
I think 4.
I think I think it was 4.
But
that was crazy.
Yeah, so under Flick.
Just before you go on, I'll also add. Remember when I think it was Salihamidzic came out in the press and criticised him for going to the Paris Fashion Festival months ago. I haven't seen anything from him since then, especially as well. So Yeah, go on. I'm just
Well,
feeding into
I
it.
haven't seen him since Flick left either. So, and like under Nagelsmann, I haven't really seen that same kind of form or anything like that. He's just fallen off. Like it's Arsenal Nabry rather
Yeah.
than Bayern Nabry, which is a shame because he has a lot of talent, and I guess that just goes to show like the mental aspect of the game as well. Like, and we've played with guys that we're like, holy shit, these guys are like super talented, and then nothing ever comes from it really. At the pro level as well, like Nabry, he has that the Champions League winning season. I think he was obviously one of their best players. Obviously Lewandowski is the main star, but you need to have a really good supporting cast around him, and then I haven't really seen him since. My only speculation with Mane, the reason why he hasn't been starting is because he still isn't at full fitness. Either that or just Tuchel doesn't trust him. I don't know what it might be. I can understand why he doesn't start the second leg, but then he comes on for the guy that he punched in the face. It's like you either start him or like don't have him in the squad at all. Like one or the other. Don't go with something don't go with something in between. And then like not only is it something in between, it's the fact that you're replacing him for the player that he actually like had the altercation with, which is like, what the fuck is this?
I also got to say, Tuchel nearly got it right. He just got the first letter of the last name wrong. It's Mane, not Sane. He should have put his faith because I think Raphael Honigsider said that Tuchel has made it a sort of pet project to get Leroy Sane up and running. And, well, I don't totally disagree with that because Leroy Sane is an immensely talented footballer. I just question the character. It's unfair to say character, but I don't know. Like maybe a bit of a lesser version of character of him.
But
he misses that big chance, like you say. It's like, come on, man. With all your talent, how are you missing the target from there? You've got to score there.
But you know what else? It felt like he was doing too much. And that in the first leg as well, it felt like he was doing too much.
That's the other thing as well. You know who my favourite Leroy Sané is? Because he's an unbelievable technician, don't get me wrong. But my favourite Leroy Sané is the one that's bursting in behind because he is lightning quick. I remember there was the game at Anfield and we stopped City's unbeaten run in that Centurion season, and I guess now that we look at it from this position, we know that everyone has Trent on toast, but he killed Trent that night playing as the out-and-out winger.
Yeah, but back then Trent wasn't toast.
Yeah, he wasn't. Well, Liverpool weren't toast. Liverpool were toast. That's a story for a different day. But yeah, man, I like Leroy Sané, but he's a complimentary piece. He's not the guy you build around. And the other one I want to say as well is, what did you think of Musiala's performance? Overall,
Better,
I guess,
better in the second leg than in the first leg. He was a little bit more withdrawn in this leg, whereas in the first leg he was playing too much advanced. Do I have that right, or was that just my feeling?
I think he played the 10. Yeah, he played the 10 both legs. So this time behind Choupo-Moting. I thought in the first half Bayern weren't actually aggressive enough. I thought they should have been more aggressive in putting more pressure on Man City and playing more direct, playing more to the heart of the defence, picking up second balls, because I thought they had a massive advantage when the game became chaotic. And in that, I thought Musiala was... Normally you see him pick up the ball between the lines all the time, and he wasn't doing that in the first 30 minutes. But then, I don't know if something clicked. I don't know if maybe Bayern would go in energy conservation to hit him harder later, but then they just started getting more aggressive. I don't know if you noticed, but I think they somewhat targeted Stones a little bit more. Stones played well, don't get me wrong, but Goretzka with that altercation, remember, between the two, and the ref called him over. Goretzka, I think, was making a point of pressing Stones hard when he had the ball, and Musiala would come across as well. So that's the problem with Bayern, and I guess this goes to the overall picture and why I'm so disappointed with them. In summary, is because they were the best team in the competition to expose Man City's weaknesses, and they were so abject in the first leg that it didn't matter what they did in this leg. And even though their effort was better, and I would say good, I would rate their second leg performance as good. It wasn't enough because 3 goals was too much, and we went into the game thinking it just doesn't really matter. 3 goals against City is just not going to happen. So that's the big disappointment because I don't know. We'll look ahead to the semi-final when the time comes. But yeah, I guess that's the front line. But the back line is the big problem for Bayern because Jan Sommer I thought was poor, and I thought everyone's raving about De Ligt. De Ligt, how would you rate De Ligt from what you've seen this season?
Do you think that the reason why he's been subpar is because he has a subpar partner?
I wouldn't.
Is he? And also, at Ajax, did he play as a right centre back or a left centre back? Like but like, does that really change that much? Or
I don't think it should for top class centre backs. I can't remember off the top of my head which side he was on. Firstly, I'd say I don't think he's been subpar. I think he's been at least par. But he's not been. Yeah, he's not been what Bayern needed yet. Now, I put him in the category maybe the same as Koulibaly of he could have a really big second season because he's like getting acclimatized. He's understanding that he needs to be the main man of that defense in the Bayern defense. He's still very young, so I could see him having go into the next level next season. Don't get me wrong, but on the subpar partner, I think that somewhat kills you. But at the same time, I don't think he's been enough of a stabilizing force. Because who knows? I think I'm not lost on Upamecano yet. If Upamecano played next to that stabilizing force that Bayern need De Ligt to be, then I think they're in really good footing. And the bigger point, and Bayern kind of fall into, we've talked about Lewandowski not being replaced ad nauseum. But Bayern fall into the same sort of trap for me as Tottenham, to a much higher level, don't get me wrong. But as Tottenham, in that they were built on a really strong either centre-back or centre-back partnership. Tottenham had Vertonghen and Alderweireld. Bayern, for me, have never replaced Jerome Boateng. Since they won that Champions League under Flick in 2020, he was still in the team. He was still a big part of that team that won that Champions League. And since then, for me, they've never had the answer and never had the guy who can stabilize everything there. Now, admittedly, they're also missing Manuel Neuer and Jan Sommer. I thought he was a good purchase, but I saw him start playing at Bayern. When he started playing at Bayern, I'm just like, this shirt looks too big for him. He doesn't look like a Bayern Munich goalkeeper to me, especially when we're used to seeing Manuel Neuer in the sticks. So, very harsh on Jan Sommer because he's been a great goalkeeper for so long, but from what I saw this season, he doesn't quite look up to it. And obviously, Neuer has been somewhat the stabilising force, so you're without him, but they really need a stabilising force in the centre-back position because while I say that I'm disappointed because they could have had a game plan that would have maybe exposed some weaknesses of City, ultimately I still thought City were going to win, even if Bayern did that, just because I think they have more quality in different areas. I know Ruben Dias was a little shaky in the second leg, but I trust that guy more or as much as any centre-back in the world. And I trust those. Even Stones is reliable now, as a defender, as an out-and-out defender. And that's a big compliment, obviously, because I haven't always been sold on him. And once you have that Rodri in front, you've just got a solid base to build off. And Bayern just never have that. They never have that solid base. And I guess that's why they're out of the Champions League.
Yeah, it does seem like they're missing that. I don't know, the one person that comes to mind, I know that I've been saying for Liverpool to go get him, but Guardiola. Partner him up with De Ligt.
That would be good. They're on the same timeline, but if De Ligt goes to the next level, then great. But yeah, man, that'd be a scary one as they grow together. Cool, yeah.
And then
because Guardiola's not the stabilizing force just yet, but
not yet.
Man, that's such a physically imposing centre-back partnership. My God.
But in terms of goalkeeper as well, like isn't Neuer like 35 or something as well? So I don't know
Well,
that.
they have a question.
I think they've been. I think Livakovic has been rumored. I think with Bayern,
I think he was because of the Neuer injury. I think he
but
was
I
a
think
big
he's
one
still. I
because
think
of
now
that.
he still is like that. He could go in summer.
You're just pimping out all your Croatian boys.
But that's actually a surprising one because I think I said to you, like obviously before we started this pod, like I think 2 or 3 years ago, that he's a really good goalkeeper, and I was like actually really surprised that no one's picked him up yet. Another one that I was at the time I was surprised no one's picked up with was Bruno Petkovic because he was flying with Dinamo, he was flying with Croatia, like he made his debut, and I think like in his first 10 games or something he had 10 goals. But like he's fallen off obviously. But without getting sidetracked, I think what I'm on that sort of same narrative that you're on, that Upamecano can't. He should probably be a third choice centre back. Unfortunately, because he was a real talent at RB.
I'm not
You
giving
you
up on
you
him yet.
you wanted him at Liverpool. I wanted him at Arsenal. Like that's how. Like we were trusting like him so much that we wanted him at our teams.
Yeah, and he's in the right role as the second guy. And while he has been poor, no doubt, I do want to. I don't want to put focus on Delip because maybe you're just asking too much. Maybe this was a season too soon. Maybe all of these things that sort of maybe even Tuchel himself is projecting since he got a Bayern, saying that he fell in love with the team after being trounced 3-0 by City at the Etihad. Maybe all and getting dumped out of the cup. Maybe all of these things are true, and it is truly, if not a long-term vision, at least a medium-term vision, and next season is the season where everything ramps up. So maybe it's all just a moot point. Maybe because this summer, maybe they go out and they get Harry Kane, they get Manuel Neuer back, or they get a Manuel Neuer replacement. And then all of a sudden, we're looking into next season. Delit's taking the jump and buying just purring. They're imperious. Tuchel has them running on all motors. And then what were we talking about right now? But I always go back to the karma thing with Bayern, and the thing that you sack Nagelsmann even though you were below par in the league, but you were above par in the Champions League, and all in all, I think that means that you're winning if you're Bayern Munich. So to sack him is harsh. And then the fact that you go and get Thomas Tuchel, who was not blameless with the whole thing with Todd Bowley and why he left Chelsea. He definitely was insubordinate at that time, and you go out and get this guy. So it's not truly a long-term vision, medium-term at best. And you've got Man City in the Champions League. By all appearances, it looks like you were going for it this year. And if you were going for it on this year, then I have to judge you on that. And the higher ups of Bayern, I think it's time that you pay for these decisions because they didn't work out, or maybe you just give them till next year and then they say that was all our plan, and look at us, we've won a treble.
But didn't Tuchel also fall out with Dortmund hierarchy as well? So he has a history of falling out with the hierarchy.
Yep,
So,
absolutely. And you just have to look at him on the touchline to know that he's that kind of guy.
yeah,
You just have to see the Antonio Conte handshake.
and that was this season.
Oh man, every time we say it, it blows
It's
my
nuts.
mind. Should we do you have any finishing points on Bayern? Because I'm just thinking we're 24 minutes in and we haven't touched on Man City, who are into
Let's
another Champions League.
let's finish up on Man City and then move on to the next game of your choice.
Well, what do you, and try and leave your Arsenal sort of predicament to the side, but what do you make of Manchester City right now?
Well, it seems like they're starting to hit their form, and like, see, that's the thing with a team that I think all the players are at that right age. It sort of reminds me of like a World Cup winning squad, or like a Euros winning squad, where it's like all of the players are like between 20. The majority of the players are at least between 28 and 32. and then it's like sprinkled with like a couple of youngsters, maybe like a 34, 35-year-old as well. So it's like a really good balance, but the majority of your players are like in their peak. And it feels like, I think if they don't win it this season, it's going to start rolling over next season, at least age
As
wise.
in be on the decline.
Yeah, that's what I, because like we saw them start really well. We saw the mid-season dip, and now we're starting to see that experience and that knowledge come through towards the end of the season when it matters most. So like they sort of went into cruise control in the middle of the season, just like keeping pace, doing the bare minimum, conserving energy. You could even argue.
I think they were one of the most disadvantaged clubs by the World Cup as well.
That
They had a
too.
lot of. We touched on it. They not only did they have a lot of players going, they had a lot of players coming back disappointed as well. So
Yeah.
I think
And
there
and
was
the and the, and the thing
point
is
of
also
control.
the majority of those players were starters for their teams as well. They weren't just like
Well,
a sub or
we
something
went
like
through it
that.
six starting centre backs for nations of the World Cup. Manchester City had
Yeah.
in the last 16. All of those teams were in the last 16 as well. No wonder Pep wants to get 4 centre backs into his team.
But
Crazy.
then you look at like Rodri was starting for Spain, Gundogan was starting for Germany, Bernardo Silva was starting for Portugal, De Bruyne was starting for Belgium. So like, and then wait, who plays up front? Foden. I don't think Foden was starting for England. I don't think Grealish was, but like they were getting 30, 40 minutes generally in games. Um, Mahrez didn't go, Haaland didn't go, but like yeah, that's like pretty much like what 8 of their main starting 11 were starters for their teams.
Yeah. They play for Manchester City for a reason.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there you go. Like you play
That says it all. The
yeah,
experience. The
yeah.
experience
Like
at this
when
point. These are all
so
international stars playing World Cups. Yeah, they know what to do at this point.
yeah, and they know what to do in the season as well. They've been at this business end of the season for like, and the core of this team has been at the business end of the season for like what 5-6 years now in a row. They're always making the quarters or the semis of the Champions League. They're always like not in the hunt for a league title, but they're actually like they're leading the pack generally. This year they're slightly behind, but you know we'll talk about it later. After yesterday's result, they should be leading the pack once again.
Think just quickly. Think about the pace they've had to go at for 3 of those 5 Premier League wins that they've had under. I think it's 5 under Pep.
I think it is.
Think
Yeah.
of the pace they've had to go at in the 18-19 with Liverpool. And obviously the pace they went the season before to get to 100, but they were only competing with themselves. They weren't competing with United, who finished second. But then they had to go to get 98 the next season against Liverpool. And then they had their dip, and they weren't very good that season where Liverpool had to go and get 99 to make sure that City wouldn't touch it. But then they come roaring back, and they win that one pretty easy during the pandemic season. But then they had to go at 90, or was it 94, 95 last season?
Something
And
like
this
that. Yeah.
season, they're going to have to go into the 90s again. It's just incredible. It really is unbelievable that this team can continue to win when these challenges are being thrown at them, especially domestically. I think Pep's domestic record at Manchester City probably doesn't get highlighted enough. It's ridiculous how consistently they just beat off opponents. And opponents come, like I just said, with so much. Liverpool have come with so much. I was looking at the table from last season. And you look at it, and Liverpool only lost 2 games all season, and they only conceded 26 goals all season. Newcastle are the only defence this season who are still under that number. And there's still, 8 games left, so you got to think they're getting past that. Admittedly. And then you look at the table, who finished above them? Manchester City, who conceded the same number of goals all season and accumulated, 2 more points. So, man,
But you know what else?
quality of those Liverpool teams, and now this Arsenal team, which we'll touch on later. But man, how do you keep doing that season after season? It's just crazy.
But you look at Pep's record. Hasn't he won like 13 of 16 league titles? I think he only lost
Yeah,
one at Barca.
he's won. No, he's only lost one or two. He's only lost two, has he?
Nah, he's lost one at Barca. He won all three at
Oh, yeah,
Bayern,
yeah, yeah.
and then he lost the Conte one and the Liverpool one at City. I
Well, he
think
was
he,
never even in the Conte one. That's his worst season
yeah. So
as a
like,
club
but
manager.
like
Best.
he was, and they finished third, and that's his worst season.
That's crazy. It's the consistency
But
is mind
13, I think
blowing.
13 out of 16 or 12 out of 15 league titles.
And you think of the pace he had to go out against those Real Madrid teams with.
Yeah,
Oh, that was like peak football, man. I was watching one of those games. I think it was from 10-11 at the new camp. Anyone who mattered was on the pitch in an El Clasico at that time. It was just insane,
that
man.
felt like it was peak football.
Oh, it really was. Well, that was peak the super clubs. Those two were absolute
Yeah,
super clubs and so dominant. Um, but yeah, with the Manchester City winning thing as well, I think what I've been most impressed with this season, and it seems funny because normally what's the trademark for a Pep Guardiola team? It's the tactical stuff, and I know it's blown people away this season, and people have loved seeing John Stones as a central midfielder. And to be fair, it's worked to this point. Um, but I haven't been impressed with the tactical stuff. I find it a little bit unnecessary in points. Maybe necessary now because he got rid of all of his fullbacks, including who we consider to be the best left back in the world at the moment in Zinchenko. Maybe not after the last few weeks. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I'll still say it. And obviously, who we thought was the other best left back in the world, João Cancelo, who could also play on the right. So maybe I just think he's forced himself into that corner, so I won't give him credit for doing that. But so tactically, I'm not impressed. But it's the psychological warfare. It's the media stuff. It's the siege mentality he created when his team was struggling, and then it's the sort of managing those players, getting them all back on side to a point where. And we can't discredit the start they made as well. They were sensational at the start. They were playing really good football. So probably the best football in Europe to start the season. And why wouldn't they? Because they added Erling Haaland and they're still the same team from last season. But the way he's bunkered down, he's got this thing back on track, and how to just keep players who have won everything except for the Champions League, which we'll touch on going forward, but who have won everything to just keep winning when these teams throw so much at them. I think it's testament to Pep. It's testament to his consistency, his evolution of management. He's learning all facets of management now. I think, if you could point to why maybe he wanted to put more centre backs in the team, maybe he didn't like Zinchenko and Cancelo defensively in those roles, and he thought, well, if I can create a system, create a structure where we just need one centre back or to step into midfield, and then maybe I could deal with the physical side of the game better, and we won't get bombarded, we won't concede sloppy goals because of Zinchenko and Cancelo. We're talking about a team who only conceded 26 goals last season and won the title in the mid-90s, and he still thinks that we need to put something up. That's maybe why I don't give him credit for the tactical stuff, because the team was so good last season. I didn't think this was necessary, but hey, it's working at the moment. I don't think it should be working as well as it does, because I think there are ways to expose it, and I don't know why, for the life of me, no manager has thought of it yet. I don't know. Maybe Real Madrid are the team who can expose it, actually. I know
I
you believe in that. And
I I think they could be the best equipped
I thought
because
Bayern were, but yeah,
no,
let's go.
but
Let's do, because we talked about Man City in the future, and finally, I just want to say I agree. I do agree with your point about this could be if it doesn't happen this season, next season could be the decline because of that pace that they've had to go at so many of these title challenges, and that they have to go at this season with Arsenal. But yeah, let's talk about their prospects going forward in this competition, the one that we all know that City And Pep really needs. It's been a long time since he won a Champions League.
Well, you want to talk about City versus Madrid, or
Yeah, let's. This will be our Real Madrid Chelsea section because we don't really need to talk about that game, do we? We can touch on it, but
nah? But your boy Rodrigo stepped up,
he has been very good, hasn't he?
and
On the right though, he stepped up. So
yeah,
good
but
on
you
him,
know what? It's what I said last week. Like if you're putting all your resources into one side, the other side's going to suffer. And like similar to Liverpool, like most of their resources went into Salah, and that's why Salah was putting up like 25, 30 goals a season in the league. Almost 40 plus in all competitions. But Mane was only barely hitting 20. And
won
like
the Golden Boot with Salah that one season.
yeah,
as well.
but still, like you could tell that most of the resources went through Salah. Like, probably with those heat maps, you could probably tell that as well.
Well, you know what's very actually similar about Salah and Vinny is the relentlessness, and I think if you by nature are like that, then the ball is going to find you because you just want it. You want it all the time, and when you get it, you want to make things happen and you want to go at opponents. So players like, hey, well, he's going to do all this hard work. Let's give him the ball again. So I think if you're a player like that, and that's to your point, that's how space is opened up. You think even Bukayo Saka, I call them the sort of gravity players. They collapse defenses. When a player like that gets the ball, you've got space in different areas. So yeah, I don't know how we got onto this. Oh yeah, we'll talk about Rodrigo and Vinny.
Yeah, but if they can start to. If like Rodrigo can start to hit some form, which it looks like he is going into the semi-final, then Ake might have something to deal with as well. And then I don't know that right hand side. Like, who's been playing on that right hand side if Walker hasn't been there?
Well, it's been Akanji because Stones now goes back into centre back rather than back into right back.
That's the thing. Do you like we've seen Ake deal with Saka? Like in both those games,
Tell you,
at least in the FA Cup one, he dealt with him pretty well.
We didn't see Ake deal with Koeman against Bayern though. That first half, Koeman was destroying him.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. Like I feel like Koeman's a lot more direct than Saka.
Yeah, I can feel that as well for sure.
Yeah.
Especially it's inherent as well by the fact that Koeman's a right footer playing on the right and Saka's a left footer playing on the right.
Yeah, so like, but even so, I do think that at least with Vinny, Real Madrid have a much better left-sided player to give Man City problems. And then I don't know if Rodrigo and Valverde are in form, that right-hand side. I'd say that Valverde is probably better equipped than Rodrigo against Ake because Valverde is a lot more physical than Rodrigo.
Well, you could have both of them going. I like Valverde in midfield because I'm thinking about who is best equipped to trap Rodri and Stones, and I think Valverde with his pace is really well equipped.
What's your midfield then? Do you drop Kroos then? Or do you go Kroos, Modric, Valverde?
I think you need Tchouaméni. You need that physical presence screening.
Or Camavinga, because Camavinga had a pretty good showing against Liverpool.
I think in the away leg, he's not... Camavinga, I think, is the left back. To be quite honest, he's actually just...
Ever since that, he's been transferred to the left back, I think just because, like, through injuries to that left-hand side.
Well, I think now
or maybe it's maybe it's tactical, who knows?
Well, it gives you so much better control in that area, and the thing is, why he is a better left-back for me than Mendy there is because he has central midfielder qualities because he is a central midfielder.
This is a Zinchenko tactic.
Exactly. Vinny does not want someone overlapping there because it's like, give the ball to Vinny and then give him the space and let him go at someone. He doesn't need someone cluttering it up unless that someone's Benzema because then he just links up with him. But when it's Mendy doesn't really know how to control the game like Camavinga
or
does.
The ball.
Oh man, Mendy. I think they're much better for Camavinga, even if they might be a little bit liable going up the other way. But you pointed it out, and you go into my point of things that could be exposed for City. Like, Camavinga still take as a left back over probably Ake. Ake's just a centre back, isn't he? And Akanji on the other side doesn't fill with confidence against Vinny, man.
Against Vinny.
He's got Guardiola's got to bring Kyle Walker out of the freezer for that game. I just have a feeling.
But I think even against Kyle Walker, I think Vinny's gonna have him on toast.
He's better. Yeah, Vinny, you'd expect him to, but Kyle Walker will put up a good fight. Let's not forget this guy.
I don't know, man. I saw
Benzema against Mbappe.
I saw Benzema rip him.
Yeah, but Benzema's like rips him with that cleverness.
Not Benzema. Sorry, Mbappe. Mbappe ripped him.
Yeah, but that's killing Mbappe.
I know, but Vinny has that same sort of pace.
He does, and if I had to choose a winner of that fight, I'd choose Vinny. But I think Kyle Walker is the best equipped to go 1-for-1 with Vinny.
I agree with that, but even then, I still put Vinny on top.
Yeah, exactly. But if Vinny's a little bit off and Kyle Walker's a little bit higher than normal, then Kyle Walker will even that matchup, and it'll be fine. So you kind of got to rely on that bit of luck, but I think he's best equipped. I can tell you one thing. I don't think you prefer Manuel Akanji up against Vinny. Please tell me you don't prefer that matchup. It might be Stones. Maybe Stones will be an out-and-out right back because Guardiola will have these weapons in his ass. What a semi-final. It's the final, isn't it?
Hey, has Guardiola actually beaten Real Madrid since his Barcelona days? Because he got smashed when he was at Bayern.
Did get smashed when he was at Bayern. Yeah. Never thought it. He admitted overthinking that semi-final, the second leg. So, yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, so that maybe there's a bit of a mental block there with Real Madrid.
Well, there wasn't much of a mental block when he had Messi absolutely destroy.
Yeah, but that was a different. That was a much different Real Madrid than what it is now, and like it's. The more I watch this Real Madrid, the more I'm starting to like it, and I see a lot of the characteristics of, you know how like Ancelotti is just like cool, like he doesn't celebrate or anything like that. He's just like he just like if his team scores, he just raises an eyebrow, turns around, goes back to the bench, doesn't even do a fist pump or anything like that. And this round
goals, he'll give a fist pump.
I don't know, but he doesn't celebrate like a Guardiola or Arteta or Klopp or anything like that. Like, you know, it's just cool, calm, and collected, and that's what this team sort of resembles. But that's what this team sort of resembles, like with the veterans like Benzema, Modric, and Kroos in there.
Yeah, 100%. I think
like there's no panic. There's no panic.
The Anfield performance is the illustration of that. It's the snapshot of what Real Madrid are. They're reactive, and normally I wouldn't associate that as being a good thing, but this team makes it a good thing that they're reactive. They can see the game so quickly because they've been there, done that, just like their manager. And on the point of the manager is, there's been a lot of like, somewhat rarely so, that all the praise for Guardiola. Fair enough, Guardiola is fantastic, but he's not the best current active manager. So when we start saying probably the greatest tactician or probably the greatest manager of all time, Pep Guardiola's, forget Carlo's still a better manager than Pep Guardiola by resume, and maybe not currently. He does it differently. How much credit do we give Carlo? I give him a lot for being a manager who could take a step back, but those players make it very easy. But this guy's won all top 5 of the big European leagues, which is just insane.
Is he the most winningest Champions League manager?
I believe.
Did he win that? Did he win that one in 2003 with AC?
Yeah, he's got 4. So he's got 2 with Milan, 2 with Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Zidane obviously has 3, and all those.
Pep has 2.
Yeah, so I would think he is, and that's across 2 clubs as well. And Pep still hasn't done it outside of Barcelona, so. Yeah. Oh, what was I saying before I got sidetracked? But yeah, but the character of that Real Madrid team, absolutely, they're reactive, and like I said, they make it like a good trait that they're reactive, that they can see an opponent, they can deal with the emotion. It's everything that they see. They're so experienced. They're so clever. These like not only are they experienced, but they're some of the most intelligent footballers we've ever seen play the game. I still think Pete Karim Benzema is probably my favorite player to watch right now. He's so clever with his movement, and he's still quite physical. He can still move around at some pace. Cheeky physical. So obviously Luka Modric, we always sing his praises. What a player. Tony Cruz always worries me a little bit because of the immobility in midfield, but to be fair, he's never been very mobile, and he's a fantastic passer and dictator of the play. So, man, the way that this team can react to whatever is being thrown at them tactically, emotionally, in terms of situationally, whatever it is, they can react to it. They seem to have the answers to everything. So does that lure Pep into trying something clever? This will
Yeah,
be an
because like,
interesting one.
does it lure him because last year he lost? Does that
Demons.
does that
They
also
got
make him
demons.
does that also make him overthink it, or does it make him underthink it? What do you think?
If I was Pep, I'd go for the underthinking because let's not forget. I think it's a different team as well, Manchester City. They do a different thing this season. And when we come closer, we'll probably go into the nitty gritties of the more matchup dependent stuff and what we might expect to see tactically. But let's not forget, in that semi final last season, City were the better team for 175, 100, maybe the whole 180 minutes of the two legs. And then in injury time, Rodrigo, two headers. And then all of a sudden, Real Madrid are going to the final. Insane. So, yeah, I would underthink it. I wouldn't try to get too clever with this Real Madrid team. But you're going to have to think of some solutions because, like we were touching on, Vinny in that wide area is a scary dude. I don't think you have to do much with Benzema in terms of plotting because if you ask me who the two players you want to try and stop Karim Benzema are, Rodri and Ruben Diaz would be hugely high on that list. So it's really that Vinny matchup that worries me because that's maybe arguably Real Madrid's greatest strength going up against one of Manchester City's weaker points.
Yeah, that's probably the one that does strike the most. It probably strikes the most fear, like into any right back or into any manager that has to come up against Real Madrid. But even so, like Benzema, like his movement is good enough to bamboozle a Rodri Stones or Rodri Diaz
Yeah,
double team.
they're really good players.
Yeah,
Real Madrid are really
man,
good.
I'm actually really looking forward to this matchup because
That's
you know what's actually scary. Real Madrid actually, would you say they probably look better this season than what they did last season? Like even if
Yeah,
it's just like
yeah, I
5% or
would.
10%, like, but they look better.
Vinny's gone up. I know his numbers maybe don't suggest that he's taken the rise that I think to my eyes that he has this season. Benzema, when he plays, looks pretty much 90, 93, 94% of Benzema from last season. His problem has been fitness this season because he's getting older. Uh, Look, we are negating a huge point with Real Madrid, a massive point, and we alluded to it before, but they do not have Casemiro in this team anymore.
Mm.
And Casemiro was massive against against City last season. I know he missed the first, and this is why he was massive because he missed the first leg, and we saw how disorganized Real Madrid can get at the back. And to this point, were Chelsea a test? Not really. Were Liverpool a test? Not really. So they
For the
played
first 20 minutes.
two. For the first 20 minutes we were a nightmare, but that only lasts 20 minutes when you shit. So if I were to play devil's advocate here, Real Madrid have played two mid-table Premier League sides to get to this point of the competition, whereas Manchester City, they played an average Leipzig, but then they played Bayern Munich. So in terms of being battle hardened, I give Manchester City the edge. I think my early prediction is I think Manchester City will rectify what happened last season. Will put it right in their minds. But man, Real Madrid have more than enough to hurt them. But without Casemiro, De Bruyne getting free in that midfield, Grealish getting free, Gundogan getting free, Bernardo Silva getting free, that's a bad area to be unsure of. Now, it might just turn out that Ancelotti picks the right midfield, whether it be Tchouaméni or whether it be Modric. I don't think it will be Modric holding. I don't think it will be Kroos. So I think he will need Tchouaméni in there. In fact, and Tchouaméni plays up to the level that he can play to because he looks to be an exceptional young player. And if he finds that in that moment, then Real Madrid really don't have the weaknesses. And if Camavinga can do the same at left back, obviously. But if he can't, and if he looks like a 22, 23-year-old who's never been at this stage of the tournament before, and he doesn't look like 90% of Casemiro, and with all those players that Manchester City have buzzing around there, there's question marks there for Real Madrid. So the question marks on both these teams make it interesting. I think they even themselves out. When I say I think it'll be Manchester City, I don't think it'll be Manchester City by much. And I think these two teams are the two best teams left in the competition. I think that goes without saying. And I think we're watching the final, which is great because we're watching it over two legs. And let's not forget that when we get to the final, it's a one-off game. So if I sounded disrespectful to the Milan clubs, I still wouldn't put it past you winning one of them winning the whole thing because in a one-off game, who knows what happens. So it's great for us as the neutral. We get to watch this over two legs, which is the way it should be.
Yeah. I'm gonna put out a prediction for the starting midfield at least, or what the tactics.
Joseing us.
I think it will be Tchouaméni, Cross, Modric, and then it will be Valverde on the right, but Valverde will be hopping into midfield, helping out, and Camavinga will be left back. So that they essentially will have 5 midfielders.
Is that for both legs or just the Etihad?
They're playing. Probably. Well, I'll say
playing Bernabeu first.
I'll say it at least. I'll say it at least for the first leg. Like I think that seems like the most logical and in terms of like rotations between the players and whatnot, and the strongest as well.
It is a bit of a dilemma.
Because, all right, for instance, if you go Rodrigo on the right-hand side and then Valverde, Modric, and Tchouaméni, you're losing Kroos. So you're losing on-the-ball dominance. Whereas at least if Valverde, he has the engine to cover both positions of helping out in midfield and playing out wide on the right. Or not so wide as what Vinny plays, where it's like chalk on the boots wide. But, yeah, I just think it will be that. So you have... two pretty much the best ball-playing midfielders in the world in Kroos and Modric, and then you have like 2 engines in there, Camavinga helping out as well.
keep your distance, throw some jabs. Let's see what we're dealing with. But if you do that and you do that for 90 minutes, then you have to go to the Etihad, maybe level, only a goal up. So that's why it's a conundrum. I don't know what the right answer is, to be quite honest, because everyone could look at this stuff in hindsight and say, well, he got it wrong there or whatever it is. I see the pros and cons for both. He's got a decision to make, and I'm fascinated to see which decision it is, because that is the logical place where you make your changes, whether it be Rodrigo out wide or it be Valverde.
Yeah, you know what? If it was, I would. If they still kept away goals, I actually would put Real Madrid as favourites, since they're playing the second leg at the Etihad.
Sorry, you cut out on me. I missed the question.
No.
I heard the second leg at the Etihad.
If had they have not removed away goals, I'd put Real Madrid as favourites. Because I can see them sneaking a goal or two at the Etihad on the counter through like Vinny and Benzema.
I wouldn't, just because if it's evenly matched, I always give it to the team who has the home leg second, because I think the prospect of
I'd always give it to the. I'd always give it to the away team if the away team is like evenly matched, because if they score one goal, like back when away goals were a thing, if they score one goal, the home team needs to score two.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Away goals made so much tactical difference in these ties, and I always thought back when away goals still existed that my logic would be, if I was ever in that position, would be to actually go and attack the away leg and try and lose 4-3. And then it's just like, well, we accumulated all of these away goals now, so if you want to outmatch us in that advantage, you've got to score a shitload of goals at our place. And that's great if you want to come at us here. So obviously pros and cons, and that's obviously a move.
But that's that's why I'm thinking Real Madrid might go, or at least when away goals were a thing, they might have gone a little bit cautiously. And they might still go cautiously, like try to go like a 1-0 or a 0-0 or a 1-1, something like that. Like keep it low scoring, keep it tight, and then away from home, like try and go more on the attack, because the goals are worth more.
Doesn't matter now.
It doesn't matter now. There's no away goals. Moving on though. Touch on Inter.
We got nearly an hour in, and we haven't mentioned that we have a Milan derby as the semi-final of the Champions League. We also haven't mentioned that Juve have their 15 points back as we speak.
Wait, they do?
And are into third. Yeah, they're into third in Serie A. They got their 15 points back. We'll see how long that lasts, but for now, that's what the ruling is. And now we have a top four in Serie A that does not have a Milan club in it.
Hang on, let me.
So
I'm gonna just, while you're talking, have a look.
As if you needed the temperature and the notch risen up to a Milan derby in the semi-final of the Champions League. Well, here you have it, because now these two clubs may be fighting for their chance to be in this competition next season by having to win the whole thing. So I just can't believe the situation we're in. I can't believe it. Actually, after it all turned, because I guess we need to touch on the other more important tie, probably the most important second leg. This all turned when Milan went to the Maradona and won 4-0.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
The feeling of this tie, the whole undertones, the whole Napoli are so unstoppable there. Well, actually, it turned on two things. It turned on that, and it turned on Victor Osimhen getting injured. And those two things coinciding with each other, which sort of helps the 4-0 result. That I don't think it's 4-0 if Victor Osimhen plays in that first leg. Or not the first leg, in the league game. And then just giving Milan the belief that they can do a number on Napoli. But they were sensational in the 4-0 win at the league. Napoli have to rue that, because it's hard. It's hard because you've won the league. Let's take our foot off the gas a little bit. Let's not give too much away in this, but in doing all of that, you lost 4-0 and you gave this team hope. You gave them confidence because the only narrative that existed before that 4-0 was Napoli are going to trounce Milan. Now, obviously, a few people would be saying Milan have a good record against Napoli and Milan still have good players, so you give them a chance. But if all played out right, Napoli were going to win that at a canter. And then it flips. 4-0. Victor Osimhen injured. So my whole feeling of this second leg is disappointed, but not surprised, because I think it nearly went exactly to my prediction. I was somewhat excited because I thought Napoli could win the whole thing if they came through this. But ultimately, I thought this was a bridge too far, and it sort of showed in the somewhat professional job that Milan just went to the Maradona and did on Napoli. And I don't know, where's the talking point you want to start on this in terms of, I guess, the game, the ball?
It felt like it sort of felt like one of those typical sort of I don't know. It looked like a blunt knife. That's what it looked like, because Osimhen, I know he popped up with a goal in like the 89th minute or something like that, but like he was non-existent, either through injury or through the tactical nous of AC Milan. And then Kvaratskhelia just like felt like he was doing way too much. He wasn't combining up. Was there even a pass between him and Osimhen throughout the whole 90 minutes? I don't think
Osimhen couldn't have been fit. He was nowhere near the spots that he would normally occupy. There were so many crosses in the first. Well, so many. I'd say 2 or 3 crosses where a fit Victor Osimhen is across the defender and at least challenging and at least making it hard for the defender there. Bakaya and Tomori. And I must say, Tomori in particular was very good over the 2 legs, but a fully fit Victor Osimhen gives him much more of it. Much more. It was, yeah. After De Laurentiis, the president said, with the injury, that we hope to have him back for the second leg. It was at that moment I'm like, whatever version of Victor Osimhen comes back, I don't think he's going to be fully fit.
And it wasn't.
So, and it wasn't. It wasn't, and that was a big loss for Napoli. And it did. If I want to help you out with a bit of an analogy in terms of what it felt like Liverpool against Atletico Madrid from that 1920 season, where they played that second leg literally days before COVID shut everything down, and Atletico knocked out Liverpool, but similar amount of shots. Napoli killed them on the shot count. They killed them. They dominated pretty much both legs. Maybe not dominated at the San Siro, but for an away team, they were pretty comfortable. And the whole time I watched the second leg, I'm like, I've seen this before.
But it felt like watching like a Man City or a Barca against like a team that just like sits. Oh, Barca against Inter as well.
Barca Inter.
Yeah, where it's like you're just bombarding, and you just cannot break them down. And like but like the goal that AC scored as well, it was wonderful.
Well, honestly,
but it all came from a mistake.
What you wanted to start on, a few mistakes. But when I asked what you wanted to start on, I had a sneaky feeling you might choose the Rafael Leao run. And the funny thing is, he did this in the first leg, but he just couldn't quite finish the move. But the cameos, this guy might be the best cameo player in the world, and keep in mind that Kylian Mbappe plays in this world, so. I don't know, this combination of strength and speed and even agility, and then the coolness to slot it to Giroud. What a player, man!
But he also won the penalty with a sort of similar run as well. Not like from his own half, but like like he also won the penalty, which Giroud missed. Oh, and then another thing, Kvaratskhelia missed the penalty.
Yeah, it would have been game on with that. I was happy.
Is he always taking penalties though? Because I felt like because of the game that he was having, I felt like he shouldn't have, because he was just coming up like way too short.
I want to say I was happy for Alex Merritt to get the penalty save, because I thought he was a bit at fault for the goal in the first leg, and he made a few crucial saves in the first half of the game as well, Merritt. But let's not forget, for the Kvaratskhelia one in particular, the goalkeeper he's going up against. Mike Mignon's an absolute beast at penalties. I agree, though, on the feeling around Kvaratskhelia on the night. I don't think he should have taken it. I think they'd already taken Zielinski off, though, and he's probably normally second in line for a penalty, so they went with their first choice. Look, it is what it is.
But
for
what about
Kvaratskhelia.
Osimhen? Why was Osimhen not taking it?
He doesn't normally take him.
No?
He's normally further down the pecking order than. I think even Elmas might get one before Osimhen, which is a weird one because Victor Osimhen, you think, should have penalties in his locker and he should be taking them. To be quite honest, it is what it is for Napoli and Kvaratskhelia as an individual for this season. I still think it's nothing to scoff at. They've been unbelievable this season, but they just met the professionals, and it would be lazy to say, well, Milan have this experience. This Milan team has none of that experience at this stage of the competition. None of these. I don't think any of these players, maybe Kayer has some experience at this stage, and Giroud.
Giroud does.
Maybe.
Well, Giroud's won the Champions League, hasn't he?
Was he in that Chelsea squad?
Yeah, he was. And he won the Europa League the year before.
Yeah, the Europa League, of course. Yeah.
But he's actually won everything there is to win, except the Euros.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True. But yeah, so you've got like Giroud. That's about it. I don't even think he was a big part of that Chelsea team. So this Milan team does not have that. But I don't know. There's something to say about being able to wear the shirts with the patch that says 7 on it. I don't know what it is. It's intangible. It might not exist. But this competition in particular, for historical significance, it's just a different weight to being a club with the name of AC Milan to the club of Napoli, who was their first Champions League quarter-final. Maybe, you know what, maybe it comes into the referee's thinking, because I definitely don't think Napoli had the rub of the green with the referee, particularly in the first leg, making them lose key players for Ndombele, as you say, to make a terrible mistake and then just not be hungry enough to get back at Leao. And I know I'm so disappointed because my boy Di Lorenzo defends like a cone in that moment, which was really weird. He's such a good defender. I don't know why he was so bad. I guess it was the Rafael Leao factor. He's so good. And once it was Rafael Leao against Rachmani, man, it was like, oh no, this is horrendous. Rachmani looked like I was trying to defend Rafael Leao.
You know what it looked like? Do you remember back in primary school? Like when you would, like, it would only be like ourselves and like 2 or 3 other people that actually played football, and then like the rest of the kids that we played with were like just like, you know, playing for fun. Like they didn't play for like clubs as juniors or anything like that. And then you know, also like for instance, I'm speaking from personal. Like I was always like the quickest, so like I could knock a ball past someone and get to it like, you know, 5 meters ahead of them. And like that's what it felt like. It's like, I know I'm quicker than you. I don't need to do any tricks. I just need to shift a little bit to one side to put your body into that side, and then just knock it 5 meters past you, and I'll run past you. That's what it's like. Like this is like, okay, you're done with pace. That's it.
He was done before Leao even got there.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah. If this is Kim Min Jae, maybe I give him a chance, but not Rachmani, man. Oh, what a run, what a goal.
Yeah.
Milan.
Look, the only thing for me that like diminishes it a little bit is that it came from a mistake. That's the only thing that's slightly different. Whereas if it came from like them winning the ball back and then them playing it out to Leao, then it's like perfect, like 100% perfect from start to finish. But this is like, it came from a mistake. He picked it up. They didn't have a set defense or anything like that. But like, that's the only thing that slightly diminishes it for me, like the feeling of it. I don't know if you're similar.
I think you could look for a mistake everywhere. I guess
it doesn't diminish the run or anything. It just diminishes the feeling of it. The feeling of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
He starts so far in his own half though. Even if it is a mistake, he's so far back. And it's just like, oh, he walks past the best right back in the world at the moment. He left him for dead. But yeah, am I happy for Milan?
Sort of.
I can't go that far. Huh?
Sort of, considering the season that they had last year. Because you were all over Milan last year.
Yeah, and that's why I'm a little bit surprised that I'm left cold. I guess I'm not surprised because I did love this Napoli team.
Is it because they're also not following it up in the league? And like they've gotten rid of a player like Kessie as well.
Well, yeah, that leaves me a bit cold, but I guess they're a club in a predicament where they can't offer 200,000 to 250,000 a week to Kessie, but no, it leaves me cold, and why I'm not as happy as maybe I could be that Milan are in the semi-final. Although I am happy that we get a Milan derby in the semi-final, which is crazy, is because of the way they had to play to beat Napoli. I wasn't impressed. They were very stifling. You could tell, and fair credit, this works, but it doesn't mean you're the better team. Napoli are definitely still the better team for me this season. But in the Champions League tie, you only have 2 legs. That's all it takes, and you just have to stifle enough. And they stifled enough. You could tell that they walked into the Maradona to do a professional number on Napoli. They came under pressure early, and they looked calm. They didn't look flustered. They looked like they had the game in the bag. Now, maybe on another night, Napoli score in the first 10 minutes, and the whole game is completely different. And that calm look that I'm expressing was actually we're petrified look and we're shitting ourselves. So I don't want to psychoanalyze too much, and I don't want to, but they did. They looked, every stoppage, it was time wasting. Every time they could get Leao away, it was, let's hit them on the counter. And they took advantage of, like you say, that blunt object that Napoli were trying to beat them with. And the lack of ideas and yeah, a certainly duller version of Victor Osimhen.
Yeah.
Amazingly still gets a goal somehow. But yeah, that's why I think I'm a bit left cold. But hey, Milan still have such exciting players as Rafael Leao showed. I thought Theo Hernandez was really good defensively over the 2 legs, but if they can open him up and get him going forward against Inter, then Milan still have that combination in particular is one of my favourites to watch in world football. So, like, am I overly disappointed? No, because I still think we're maybe watching the best goalkeeper in the world play between the 6 for Milan. We're watching maybe the best left back in the world play, one of the premier left wingers. You can't say Leao's the best in the world because there's so much competition there. We're watching a wily veteran in Giroud still going, and I know I said I thought he was all out of milk and they might have milked him, but he just continues to go somehow, still be there to score the goals. Tonali is one of the best ball winning midfielders at the moment. I'm disappointed that he doesn't do more in possession, and that's maybe why Milan can't be as pretty on the eye, but man, they still have some good pieces. They're pieces, and Brahim Diaz, who I failed to mention. I'm sorry, he's probably been the main reason why Milan have been able to get back on track, really, because I always thought they were missing that extra piece, especially early in the season. But with him back fit and him playing the way he's playing, he's added a new dimension to Milan. So they're exciting enough to watch, and we're going to be excited because we get a Milan derby, but definitely disappointed for Napoli because this does not mean that they're an inferior side to Milan.
Yeah, you're probably a little bit more disappointed the fact that it wasn't a fully strength Napoli either.
Yeah, we didn't get to see them.
Yeah, but then not only that, like they had 2 injuries in the first half as well that they had to take off. They had to take off Marco Ruiz and who else? Not Politano.
Politano was a good matchup for Teo as well. He was giving him problems.
Yeah, he was causing a lot of problems. So like, not only did they lose Kim Min-jae, who else was suspended?
And
Gisa. Then they lost these 2 players in the first half, and that was like the first 30 minutes as well that they lost both players. So like, it wasn't even like a halftime sub. And then obviously Osimhen's not fully fit, so like everything went wrong for them in terms of personnel as well, and you know what, those things are probably more luck based than anything else really. That like
or the footballing gods saw that
yeah,
Milan have
that's in terms of that sense, yeah. Um,
no, but it is
wait,
luck. You're right.
but you know what? I just want to add. You know how you said, oh, like Milan have like what the seven Champions Leagues on the shirt or whatever, like the 7 stars or whatnot. You know what else? Like the pedigree of these clubs. You have these players walking around the training rooms, the stadium. They see those 7 Champions League trophies every time they walk around the club rooms at Real Madrid. Even like, for instance, Real Madrid didn't win the Champions League since 2000, was it 2001? So like these players,
well, they won it in 13, 14.
yeah. So like they hadn't won it. Like this was a completely different generation, but this generation they see those 9 Champions Leagues at the club, and even if Real Madrid don't win it for another 15, 20 years, the next generation they're gonna see those 14 Champions Leagues every single day that they're walking around the club. And same with Liverpool as well. Like Liverpool,
Yeah.
like they hadn't won a Champions League since what the like was it the start of the 80s before they won in 05?
81, I want to say.
So they hadn't won it for like 25 years or 20 23. No, that's 30, isn't it? How's my maths? No, 20.
No, 20, yeah, 25-ish.
Yeah, 20. So that they hadn't. So like that's almost like 2 generations of footballers, considering footballers play for 10 to 15 years.
It didn't help that we got ourselves banned from Europe after Heysel as well.
Yeah, actually, that probably hindered Everton because Everton had their time in the mid '80s.
Best teams.
But that's another thing. Like those Liverpool players, they see that it was 6 Champions Leagues or 5 Champions Leagues at that time before they won. So
before 05.
Yeah, before 05.
4.
So
Right.
4.
That was our 5th.
But they still see those 4 Champions Leagues there, and it's 2 generations removed essentially of footballers. So and Napoli they don't have a Champions League trophy that that the players can see every single day at the club.
Yeah, that royalty,
that prestige,
that prestige, that European, and the cutoff point is 5. Once you win it enough to get to keep that original trophy that is the 5th, that's when you're officially European royalty. So, as a Liverpool fan, I'm going to cling on to that because we're the only British club who can say that. And yeah, there's something different with those clubs who can do that, who can be part of that elite in terms of this competition. There's just something in the air, and I don't know, but the fact that we got that pedigree in this semi-final with 10 between these two clubs from Milan, I guess you give Milan the advantage, but once you've won 3, you've won a fair few yourself. So, and these teams themselves have no idea what what a Milan derby, the semi-final of the Champions League, really means. The teams themselves, they haven't been there, so they'll be learning themselves between them. And look, man, Milan are. And let's maybe flip to Inter. I think we saturated the Milan talk, and on the other side of it, again, I thought it was a little bit wacky that so many people thought Benfica were the favourites. Benfica, I would say, were a victim of, this is a term I've heard on the Bill Simmons podcast, but Benfica became the sexy Zag, which means like the team that people like want to choose to go against the grain, but then like it ends up becoming that so many people pick this team that all of a sudden like they're not underdogs anymore and they're the sexy Zag. And when that happens, I'm like, ooh, no, I might back off that one just a little bit. I might, because like the whole thing was they were the underdogs. They were this team that everybody loved, and everybody saw as like. But then all of a sudden for this game against the tie against Inter, they were the favourites somehow, and it's like, all right. I'm like, I wouldn't go against 50% of people saying that they expect Benfica to go through the tie, but for it to almost be unanimous, I was just like, no, wait a minute. Inter are still a pretty good team now. They're wretched in the league. We know that. And I don't think they've been as bad as the results have suggested in recent weeks, especially considering they've had to juggle Champions League commitments as well. But alas, their results are what they are in the league, and they're wretched there. But in the Champions League, they have been mighty impressive. Now, let's not forget they had to come out of a group that had Barcelona, soon to be Spanish champions, and Bayern Munich in it. And then the way they've come through these two Portuguese tests in the round of 16s, two teams who were in very good form when they met them. Now, luckily for them, they weren't the European elite. They didn't have to meet Manchester City. They didn't have to meet Bayern Munich. They didn't have to meet Real Madrid. So you get your bit of fortune there. But they've still been battle-hardened enough, given the group stage and the fact that Benfica and Porto are no mugs. They're not a Club Bruges, that's for sure. So they know how to play these big... Now, the stakes on this game, like for the reasons that I outlined earlier, are just in a different stratosphere, honestly. A derby of this nature, potentially for Champions League or the chance of Champions League qualification for the next season. It just... Wow, what a what an atmosphere we're going to get. It's going to be insane in the San Siro. It was insane for the tie against Napoli. It was very good for Inter against Benfica. Inter were very good over the two legs against Benfica, I must say. I thought so structured. Marcelo Brozovic, particularly in the first leg, controlling everything. Lautaro in the second leg was really good. Nicola Barella with 2 or 3 goals in the end. He was immense over both legs. Bastoni looked really good. Even Darmian looks good in his role as the right centre-back. Dumfries is back in the team, thank God. This was Inter as they should look. This was where, apart from probably Çalhanoğlu for me over Mkhitaryan, but maybe he likes the mobility of Mkhitaryan a bit more. But this was how Inter should look. And maybe Lukaku for Dzeko. But he trusts Dzeko a bit more in these moments. But that 5-3-2 looks so solid and regimented. Yeah, I was pretty impressed by the way they came through both Porto and Benfica. And yeah, I think I really don't know how to call this semi at all. I don't know which way.
It does feel like it's going to be like super cagey and like really low scoring. I wouldn't be surprised with like a 0-0 and then a 1-0. Or even if it just goes to penalties, like after.
This is Italy at its finest.
Yeah, like it wouldn't surprise me at all that this is like super low scoring.
Yeah, you put the nerves on top of the fact that Milan to get through Napoli had to be super pragmatic.
Yeah, that's the thing.
5-3-2 are fairly pragmatic. So yeah, man, I'm with you there.
Who's had more success? They played each other twice in the league already. So who has the upper hand there? And what have the score lines been?
For some reason, I'm drawing a blank on what the derbies have been this season.
AC won the first one. Was it 3-1? I think I remember watching that one.
Inter have had the success in the Super Coppa. Did they? I think. Yeah, I guess. Oh, yeah. AC had the success in the league. I can't remember the second meeting.
I'll go have a look. I think Inter won the second one, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't get a feel in terms of one team having.
Yeah, Inter won the second one 1-0, and Inter won the Super Coppa final 3-0.
Yeah.
Let's go have a look some more.
But I don't really get a sense of like form against each other in terms of that. It's a pick 'em, I reckon. I don't know what to take from any form. The fact that it's a derby. I think your theory on KG is good, but which way it's actually going to go.
Yeah, it was 3-2 when AC was the home team.
Yeah,
so course. Like if you look at it, then that's a 3-3 on aggregate. Like at least the league games.
if we get 3-3 in this semi-final, I think we'll be blessed for goals, to be fair, over the two legs.
So it actually hasn't been back, but considering it's Champions League semi-final, there's a lot more at stake. You would expect these teams to probably be more defensive than what they are in the league.
Damn, we're going to have some fun with these semis. Calcio is back, as they've been flogging in the Serie A, man. The ads they put before the Serie A games, like, the Italians have been absolutely milking the fact that they have so many teams still in Europe. And I think we've done all the Champions League, right?
Yeah.
Just looking forward to these semis now, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but obviously, Italy still also has two teams in the Europa League as well. I don't know how Fiorentina got on. I must admit, I haven't been following the Conference League.
I think they're playing West Ham in the semis.
Oh, well, they are the two favourites.
No.
Or are they on collision course for the final?
Yeah, let me have a look at the Conference League. It's AZ Alkmaar that's facing West Ham, not Fiorentina.
Yeah. So
Fiorentina is versus Basel. So they're in the semis as well.
So 5 Italian clubs still in European competition.
In the semis,
flogging it so much. But obviously Roma with that dramatic like big brother, little brother. I don't know. This rivalry between them and Feyenoord has popped up over the last 2 seasons, obviously playing in the final of the Conference League last season. And this tie was dramatic. Admittedly, I only watched mini matches of all the Europa League ties. But Paulo Dybala came on to send the game into extra time when it looked like Feyenoord were going through. And just the way it feels for Roma, it might feel destined, but we're getting to a point where there's good teams. Probably all 4 of these teams have a claim.
You know
you want to
what?
get your bit of joy.
You know what? You know how last
have a claim to win it. Because I was thinking about the 4 teams left in, and I thought Sevilla. Oh, what's their claim? It's their divine right, and it just looks like it was their divine right to go through to the next stage of this competition. It didn't matter that they were playing Manchester United. And, oh my god, man! They killed.
Before we get into that, just on Roma, you know how last time I mentioned the Mourinho, like the Mourinho story where he wins the Conference League, he wins the Europa League, and then he wins the Champions League. Like he pretty much does what he did with Porto. But Porto, obviously there was no Conference League back then. If they win the Europa League, I think I might put a cheeky $5 on Roma to win the Champions League next year. Just for the story, just for the narrative.
You'll get good odds as well.
Oh man, I would get I imagine I'd get something like Leicester odds.
Oh no, not that. Not for a tournament. Nothing like that.
I'll be interested. I'll be interested to see what the odds are.
You're not getting 5,000 to 1. Though.
Probably not, but it'll probably be like 200. It'll probably be somewhere between 200 to 500, 200 to 500 to 1, something like that in that range.
I wouldn't hold my breath for that. Although I don't know how odds work and stuff. So
I imagine it'll be something like because, for instance, like Croatia winning the World Cup was I think it was 50 to 1 or 30 to 1, something between there, and we were the 5th favorites, 6th favorites, maybe.
Yeah, so I feel, but that's what I mean. I think it would be less than 100 to 1.
I reckon it'll be more than 200. But anyway,
not for Champions League.
Yeah, but there's 32 teams in it, or are they expanding it next year?
Oh, is it next year? I don't know if it's next year.
Or the year after, but there's 32 teams, man. That's yeah. Anyway,
we digress.
Man United, Seville.
It's just, I don't know. It's just meant to be, isn't it? I know you want to focus on the United side, and
not really.
I'll let you do that.
Not anymore.
Yeah, I know.
But look at the
first leg, man.
I think the way that it all happened. If you look at all the goals that Seville scored, so the first 2 were super fortunate. They weren't mistakes, but they were super fortunate.
In the first leg?
Yeah, in the first leg. I don't know what...
Yeah, man.
All right, what goal was actually more fortunate? The first one or the second one? I don't know, man. They're both, equally as
Yeah, I know.
fortunate, unfortunate, depends on what perspective you have. But like,
United were cruising. They were good value to
yeah,
be 2-0
but
up in the
then,
first leg.
but then the second game,
Oh, no.
it was
United went in
mistakes.
it.
It was mistakes.
Well, also think. Here's the point. And I know we said the United midfield looks strong now, but think of who they had when the game was they were still keeping to Sevilla to 0 in the first leg. They still had at least Lissandro out there. He got injured in that leg, didn't he? And now he misses the season.
Yeah.
So man, now you get Harry Maguire in, and I don't know, man. It's too simplistic without having watched the match to just blame Harry Maguire. Although
You saw obviously
no,
you saw
De Gea gets more blame, doesn't he, for this one?
because the thing is, when I looked at it, I was like, okay, Harry Maguire's running into space. He has 3 players around him. He is calling for the ball, but the thing is, the decision to hand him the ball is ultimately De Gea's, and in reality, you're gonna have when you're in possession of the ball, you're gonna have 3 to 4 players calling you for the ball, and it's up to you to make the decision of who you play it to. Because wasn't who was the right back? Was it Wan-Bissaka or Dallo?
Yeah, Wan-Bissaka.
Because he had the option out wide to pass it.
Well, he tried to play that ball, but like you said, it was 3 players. It wasn't just 2. There was no ball to play. Once De Gea gave Maguire that ball, it was like game over. And yeah, you're 100% right.
No, but De Gea could have played it out wide, I'm pretty sure. Not Maguire. So De Gea could have played that.
Man.
Yeah,
anything but that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So like I'm not putting that much if for instance, like if the players were a little bit more apart from Maguire, and if Maguire received it with time, and the trigger was to pounce on his first touch. But no, this was pouncing on pre-touch. If you get where I'm coming from. So that's why I'm putting more on De Gea.
Yeah, me too. And I don't think Maguire should be calling for the ball. But that's the less egregious mistake there. And I always tell my goalkeepers, think of the second pass. Don't just see a pass and play that pass. Think of what he has to do when he gets the ball. And if De Gea can't see that at this level, it's unbelievable. And I thought United had got this out of their system, but they're trying to play out from the back again. This isn't when United play well. They don't play well when they play out from the back, because it's so painfully obvious they don't have the players to do it, but they don't have. More importantly, they don't have the goalkeeper to do it. De Gea is a very good goalkeeper, but he keeps the goal. He doesn't do anything more than that. And whether it's right or wrong,
would you say that he's Bayern Munich's Jan Sommer? Good shot stopper, but can't play out from the back.
I think De Gea is a bit more of a presence in the goal.
But they're in that similar style where like you can't trust them to play out from the back.
In the same style, but I trust Jan Sommer a lot more than I trust David De Gea.
Yeah, probably, I suppose. So.
Because of especially what we saw for the third. I'm like, what's he trying to do?
What about the second one? Do you put much blame on him on the second one?
Was that the corner?
It looped over him, and I think it touched the underside of the bar.
Yeah, it kind of went in the perfect spot. That's tough. Like, it comes off the striker's shoulder and loops into the perfect spot.
You know what though, and like you can't blame a person for the physical abilities or lack of height. Courtois is never copying that goal because he's taller. He can get his hand to it.
Yeah, but I also don't think we can use lack of height when it comes to David De Gea. I'm pretty sure he's still quite tall.
I feel like he should have been getting to that though, because it went over him.
Nah, that's too harsh for me. But look, whatever you want to say about the second, the third, man, what? No, but please, what is he trying to do there? What is he actually
Is he
trying to do?
is he trying to clear it or stop it or what? Like,
Was he trying to like pass it to the
or
centre back with
I don't
his
know.
studs? Like,
Yeah.
what is he trying to do? I'm so lost by that decision. Like, it looks like nothing. And then to make it worse, when Ed-Nesyri gets the ball and is out of his box and he just flaps like a fish because he knows he can't use his hands. So he's just like, oh, I'll just salmon this. It's such a comical goal, man. It's such a funny one for us as haters of United. But hey, if they want to say anything to Arsenal, at least they're still in the competition to get beaten by the team who feel like they're destined. If they get to this point of the competition, it just feels like they're meant to win it. Because this is a Sevilla team who have been wretched this season. They're onto their third manager. And they're into the semi-finals of the Europa. What? It's nuts what this club do with this competition.
Hang on, we talked about prestige. Look how many Europa leagues Seville have their players walking by every single day at the training grounds.
And they're so recent as well.
Yeah, that too.
Man, it's crazy. And do you have the semis in front of you? I looked at them up. Who's playing who? I think it's Sevilla, Juve,
Sevilla, Juve, and Roma, Leverkusen.
Well, you'd think Juve. What's their motivation now?
Just win a trophy.
Win a trophy.
Yeah, win a trophy.
And is it? I think. I don't think they've had the second leg of the Coppa Italia quarters, so they might still be in that as well. I think that should surely be soon. But maybe the fear that the 15 points will get taken away again and they'll need it to qualify. But look, that's good enough motivation. Obviously, it should be for any player to win a trophy, but it's not as much motivation as it was before.
Yeah.
And Sevilla, I don't know, with that crowd was immense for that second leg against Manchester United, and I think it's far better than anything the Allianz Stadium has produced this season for Juve. So I don't know. I can't see which way either of these semi-finals are going to go. But the Europa League is pretty fun when we get to this end of the competition. And I think Sevilla for the story they have in the competition, Juve for the fact it's Juventus, they're such a big name. Leverkusen, I think, are the best footballing side left in the competition. And Roma for your narrative on Mourinho and his European Cup specialists. Yeah. I think it's fascinating. It's set up.
It's written in the stars, man. It's written in the stars.
Well, everyone except for Leverkusen has reason to believe that it's written in the stars.
Maybe not Juve. Maybe not
Juve.
No.
Yeah. But definitely Sevilla and Roma. Maybe that's the final we get, and who has more stars in the sky will get it. But I don't know. I can't call it. I think Leverkusen much better footballing side than Roma. Really want Xabi Alonso to maybe get his team into the. I just really want Leverkusen to be in the Champions League next season. If I could choose. If I could choose any of these teams to be in the Champions League, well, I'll ask you the question, then I'll answer it. Which of these teams do you want most in the Champions League next season? Given that we probably expect Juve to still be in the position they're in terms of have their 15 points.
And Roma are fourth at the moment. And I think they have like a 4-point gap as well.
Yeah, without Europa League as well.
Yeah. Well... Yeah, Leverkusen, considering the second half of the season they've had.
I guess if we expect Roma and Juve to finish in the top four in Serie A, it makes the choice much easier for me. I prefer to see Leverkusen next season. I think Sevilla have been a dumpster fire all season. There's been nothing to watch from them, but hey, man, in this competition, they just do it somehow. So I don't know. Fun. Watch it. We'll talk about it as we get closer. But yeah, Europa League, a little bit of comic relief after a little bit of drama at least after what were very anticlimactic Champions League quarterfinals.
Yeah, considering
Not one surprise for me.
considering they were pretty much all wrapped up. Besides the Napoli one, they were all wrapped up in the first leg essentially.
And that one felt over to me. I know it was like it's too easy to say. It was only 1-0, but
It definitely felt over. It definitely felt over once Lau got that goal, and considering and like the 30 minutes prior to that, like they could not break down.
The two injuries,
the
whole storm.
But they could not break down. Like they were having really tough time breaking down that Milan defense. They just felt a bridge too far. Should we end it?
What a transition. Yeah, from a defense that was hard to break down to one that was a little bit easier to break down.
Oh man, I don't know what to think, man. But bloody Ramsdale does his best De Gea impression, essentially.
Oh, he really did. That was worse. That was at least De Gea's made it to Maguire.
Yeah, that's one thing. But then, like, also the fact that, oh man, Theo Walcott scored the second. Oh, hang on. Let me just lead you into like me going into watching this match. Okay, so here's what happened. So, do you watch games like on demand? So like you pick the game and then you can just automatically stream it, or is it like Foxtel where like you have to wait? Like it's actually live TV. You have to wait.
No. I got all the streaming services.
Okay, so my one is basically live TV. So they themselves need to switch it over. So get this. Like it's 8:57, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna switch it over. I'm gonna turn it on and get it all ready. They have the Serbian basketball league, right?
No.
Hang on. But it's meant to finish. Like there's 9 seconds left on the clock, right?
Yeah, but there's timeouts, man.
There's a 4-point difference.
It's not even a one possession game.
Guess what happens? Guess what happens? I'll give you one guess. Guess what happens? Like once the losing team gets their possession.
What do they score?
They score a 3-pointer and get a free throw.
Oh no! We're going to overtime.
With 3 seconds left. With 3 seconds left, like they score, and I'm just like, what the? It's already like 9:02, 9:03. I'm like, switch the fucking channel over it. Like, and it even says like it's meant to like already be on that program, Arsenal versus Southampton. I'm just like, what the fuck, man? So like they score, and there's 3 seconds. So, and obviously they take another timeout, another 1 minute timeout, and then they score the free throw. They level it up, and then the team that was winning, they take their timeout so they can bring the ball up to the middle of the court, and then what happens when they throw it in? The opposing player makes a foul on the player, and it's automatic free throws. And then he misses
we might not go.
But like he misses the first one, he makes the second one. But then but the thing is like that whole sequence takes
took forever.
It takes like 10 minutes essentially. Like those 9 seconds turn into 10 minutes. And then not only do they not automatically transfer it over, like the commentator has to do his whole sign-off spiel, like, oh, I hope you enjoyed the game, like which takes another like minute or minute and a half, right? and then once he's done, they start showing fucking ads. and then like instead of just cutting straight to the game, considering and then when they finally get into the game, it's like Arsenal 0, Southampton 1. I'm like, what the fuck, man?
It was still only 1.
Yeah, like
I thought you might have got late enough that.
Then 2 minutes after that, I see Walcott scores. Like after 2 minutes after tuning in. I was like, for fuck's sake! And then finally at halftime, I see the how Ramsdale fucked up. Like, oh my lord, man! But you know what? I think we've copped the same type of goal now 3 or 4 games in the last 5 games. We've copped the same type of goal like 3 times now, where it's been from a corner, the first post heads it over to the loop over to, and then the second player runs onto it at the back post. We've copped that same type of goal like 3 or 4 times down the last like 5 or 6 games, which I don't know if that's because Saliba's missing and maybe he's meant to be defending the first post, so like they're never winning that header at the first post, or whether they just lack of constant. I don't know what it is, man. But like I'm just like, I've seen us cop this goal before. Like how have we not rectified it yet? I don't know what to think. Like I'm in 2 minds about it, because like we end up coming back from 2-0 down. Yeah, from 2-0 down and then from 3-1 down to draw, almost win as well. There was numerous chances there for us to have stolen it, I suppose. Like we had that shot from. I know, but we had that shot from Trossard, which hits the crossbar, and then like in the 98th or 97th minute, I don't know if they didn't show the replay of it, but like I don't know if it should have been a penalty on Jesus. But there was other numerous ones where like there was fouls off the ball that should have actually been penalties. Like holding shirts and bringing players down even though they're not in possession. But like, do you remember that one where it's like the 98th minute? There's a goal mouth scramble and then Jesus is about to shoot. His studs might have caught a player like when he was swinging it back. I don't know if that is enough. I don't know if it's enough for a penalty or not. But they didn't replay it here, so I didn't get another look at it. But on first look, it looked.
I stopped watching I stopped watching. I think the 95th minute because for some reason Opta Sports chat itself.
So you.
I knew the result. So
your end of game was my start of game. Sort of. But yeah, like they didn't. Like I said, they didn't show that incident. But on first look, it did look like a penalty because like if he's swinging his leg back and then if a player is trying to, even though they might not, they're still putting their body or their leg in the way of a person's natural movement. And like that one where if a player is like about to swing for the ball, and then like the other player nicks it, and then they end up kicking through the player's leg. And then, like, the player that player that nicked it gets the foul. Like, this is sort of like the opposite of that. So, like, why is that not given? I don't know. Like, maybe it's just not enough for a penalty. But I don't know. Like, they had numerous chances.
Numerous is an
win.
Understatement.
Yeah,
they must have been close to triple figures for shots by the end of the game.
I'm gonna go have a look. I'm gonna have a look while you say your bit.
I think they must have been pushing 35 or something by the end of the game, and I was fascinated to get not your take on the game, but your I guess your mood, and you summed it up in terms of you don't know what to think, because I don't know what to think. My note was Arsenal ... What do we think?
25 shots.
And only 25.
25 shots, 6 on target though. So we had the same amount of shots on target that Southampton had. Southampton also had 6. 75% possession, 670 passes, 86% pass accuracy. But like, it was the same sort of thing that against Liverpool, where like in the first half we get, I think, one of their centre backs and then both their left back and right back on yellow cards. And it's like we don't go more direct on that to try and draw the second yellow card. It's like we're still like for instance, a player like Vinny or Mbappe would punish a left or right back that has a yellow card. He would absolutely destroy them.
It's tough. It's tough to say in this scenario, in this game in particular against Southampton, because going down 2-0 in 15 minutes gives Southampton the chance to sit even deeper than I imagine they would have sat anyway. So in terms of like that matchup sort of thing, it obviously gets a lot harder when a team can compact and help each other. And
yeah, I've lost you for a sec.
Never have to commit. So
hang on.
I think circumstance of the game against. Have you got me?
Yeah.
I've lost.
It's gotten a little bit laggy.
Yeah, well, I was saying like the circumstance of the game against Southampton, I think, means that it's hard to isolate those 1v1 matchups because they're defending in such a low block.
But they were
But
doing
the
it.
Liverpool one is,
They were still
yeah,
doing
they
it.
were the. I don't know. I don't know what to like. I don't know
I
what
don't
to
know,
think
man.
of. It's tough because for the most part I thought they were comfortably. I mean, it's easy to say they were comfortably the better team against Southampton at home, and they should be. And should they be making the mistakes that they're making to concede these 3 goals? Probably not, especially when you bring up that the set pieces worked on them before. Ramsdale, I mean, that's just a bad one, but you give and you take with playing out from the back like that. The giveaway from Saka into midfield for Partey, and then they're away. I don't know. I haven't got evidence of it, but I fail to believe that the absence of William Saliba isn't
Yeah, like the
impacting.
mistakes aren't coming from holding.
They're not.
They're not.
No, they're not. But I still can't wrap my head around that this isn't in some way down to his absence,
Like
but I don't have the
subconsciously.
evidence to show it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like just like
It's a weird one.
being 5% more cautious than what you normally would be, or 10% more
It could be
cautious.
that, and just because even maybe his presence as a deterrent for opponents. I don't know. I might be reaching at that, and I
Yeah, like
think that's the feeling. That's the feeling with me and Arsenal in this spell of 3 games. Is I'm reaching for what's going wrong here. Like, why has this gone on? We've pointed to getting Anfield in a frenzy, and then Liverpool coming back in that game, and is that a
well,
point gained?
well, the thing is like with holding, I think we touched on it last time, is that because he lacks the speed that Saliba has, it means that maybe Partey has to play a little bit more withdrawn, and it means that maybe the team can't push up as high and press. Instead of pressing the opposition on the edge of their box, maybe they then have to press them in the middle of the park or in like just that the start of the third. So they're allowing teams a little bit higher up the park. Maybe that could be a factor as well.
Maybe, but they still killed Southampton footballing wise in this game as well. So
Yeah,
luck for me, it's just a great
I
deal of
don't know
luck
what it is.
because yeah, because it does not look like a choke. It doesn't look like a bottle. I read what Gary Neville, because we don't get the Sky Sports coverage, but I read what he said on commentary about Zinchenko pulling in the huddle. Um, how he was making a big deal. You want nerves. You want bottling. Or he said something towards that effect. I'm just like, no, you can't say that. And Arsenal for me over the course of the season have still been the best footballing side. I think these 3 draws in a row, I don't think does enough to disprove that or dissuade me of that opinion, because I still think in their moments that they played, they were very good. I don't think they were sensational, but they were very good at Anfield for the first 20 minutes against a pretty poor Liverpool side. Whether they had a bit of naivety in that game, maybe, but a point at Anfield's still a decent result, better than what City did this season. And then the West Ham game away, that can happen in the Premier League. It's annoying that it's another 2-0 lead loss, but in that first 15 minutes, they looked like the best team in England. They were sensational, and that's after City had laid down a gauntlet the day before against Leicester. And then it's just annoying how you lose that lead. And then in this game, for me, enough to win 2 games again. And they've conceded stupid goals and they've been punished. But like on another day, not all of those mistakes. Maybe the Ramsdale mistake, maybe he gets more of a fingertip onto it and he pushes it around the post. And we're not talking about being 1-0 down in a minute. And we're not talking about, maybe Partey. Partey's form worries me a little bit. I think he's gone off that top form
Yeah,
that he had at
he's
the
dropped
start of
off a
the
little
season.
bit.
Yeah, just enough for it to be noticeable in that crucial position.
Mm.
I know Zinchenko will get criticised. I know defensively he should be, but he offers so much going the other way. I still think he was a big part of why you can dominate these games. So yeah, man, I'm lost. These results are really bad. The performances really aren't that bad. I would say I've seen this movie before because let's not forget Liverpool last season when they were pushing for everything. There came a point in the season, if you remember, where they were always down in games. They were always behind. Every game towards the end of that season, it felt like Liverpool were a goal or two behind in that game and they had to push back. Now, Arsenal obviously had the reverse problem the last two games in terms of being up, but these sort of is it these cracks start to appear? I'm not going to say that because Arsenal is still ultimately on pretty much a 90-point pace. Whether they win or lose this title, they have been a fantastic footballing side this season. As long as they continue to show how good they are in the footballing sense, then you just live with the result. And if Manchester City are the juggernaut that Manchester City have been, take your hat off to them and you say, well done, because I've been in that position and it's not a nice position to be in, but you got to be proud of your team because I think they've been sensational this season. I don't think they've been that much worse than what they've been this season in these last three games. And football has a funny way of not rewarding the best team at times, and that's the patch that Arsenal are going through at the moment. And
look at Napoli against AC. AC caught them at the perfect time.
Yeah, and that's the question that remains: who will come into the game between the two teams in the better moment?
Which is on Wednesday.
Is it just this? Yeah, is it just a case of this being the catch-up game for Arsenal? Have they been saving it all? Well, the problem is they've still been scoring goals.
Yeah.
Look, one thing I will say on this morning's game, my last point on this morning's game, I was very disappointed to see right at the end there were empty seats. There were a lot of empty seats. I don't want to see that if your team's going for the title. You stay till the end, and this team is good enough, and they turned it around to at least get a point. I don't think you should be leaving.
But you know what it also might be similar to? Was that the 2013-2014 season when Liverpool went up against, was it Crystal Palace?
Yeah.
But were Liverpool up or were they down 3-1?
No, we went goal difference chasing in that game.
But the thing, but the thing is, like, you end up drawing that game. Wait, so you were up in that game?
Yeah, we were 3-0 up, but it didn't. That game wasn't the one. It was the Chelsea game, which was the one.
Yeah, that was obviously the one. But the thing is, when you're also dropping points against a team like Palace, who at the time are like relegation battlers.
Yeah, but we needed to try and get the goal difference because I think we're level on points with City. And once we were 3-0 up, we tried to get greedy and go, let's try and get some of that goal difference back on them. And we paid the price for it, and ultimately that was the time where I was like, all right, well, we can't win the title now. It's done.
I guess everything
Thanks for bringing that one up. That was
I don't know. I'm bringing similarities with historical occurrences.
I do want to say it's not going to... As long as Arsenal keep playing this football, it's not a bottle job. Let's not say that. That's bullshit. Look, that's too easy to say.
But then the other thing is, like, if you remember, I think it was the 02-03 season, well, Arsenal lost the title on the last day of the league against Leeds. But then the following season they went on unbeaten, and I don't know. There's eerie similarities with that, where like we might come so close, and there was a point in there was a point last year. I think I said it last season, where I can see this team having an invincible season. Like I could see like the building of something. And this season, like we went before the United game, like we were playing as if we could do it. And I don't know, maybe next season with the majority of this team being a year older, being like the majority of them being 23, 24, sprinkled with a couple of experienced players, and then maybe a new signing here or there. Maybe this is the season where like, okay, where we build on what happened this season. And then also Man City, we talked about maybe this is the season where it's the tipping point, and the next season they have a Liverpool season that you're having this season. So who knows what
Yeah,
can happen next season.
Yeah, and there's still so much to play for this season, so we don't need to look ahead too much.
But also
But
from
yeah,
from
no,
a, from a character from a character building perspective,
yeah.
maybe coming so close and then losing this season will actually build more character than them winning it this season, and then getting complacent next season or whatnot. Like, so who knows mentality wise what either result would bring to such a young group of players.
Oh, no, of course, and I think I just think I don't know if my opinion's going to change on this Arsenal team's character or anything like that. To be fair, I think they'd have to really just shrivel in that game at the Etihad, and then I'd have some questions about it. They'd really have to lay an egg in that game. But if they play any of the stuff that they were accustomed to them playing, I don't know. I'll still be impressed with this, but I think your call about next season is pretty good, given this is a team on the up and maybe some other teams are on the down. But on the flip side, to play devil's advocate, there might be a scenario where a lot more teams are getting a lot better next season. Chelsea, Liverpool, the chief ones that we're pointing to. So
Newcastle,
look, that's Newcastle, of course.
Man United as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, and like even though we might think City might slip off from these levels, it's still Manchester City. They still, well, in fact, will they even slip off? These are all
Who knows?
questions, ifs and buts. They can make signings. We know it's Manchester City.
But isn't
Um,
good? But for instance, Gundogan is at the end of his contract. Bernardo Silva's most likely leaving as well. So like they're going to lose two key midfielders.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's all ifs and buts. But in regards to this season, like I said, I don't think much is going to change with Arsenal. And in terms of my opinion of them, yeah, that game at the Etihad, given the performances, I haven't lost hope, and we'll touch on it on our early pod next week as sort of a preview. I imagine we'll do a lot on it. Super exciting. For all intents and purposes, may be a title decider, may not be. There's still enough time for another twist or a turn till from now to the end of the season.
it would have been a title decider if Arsenal picked up all 9 points from these 3 games.
Of course.
Yeah.
Was all right. Final question.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, have we got yes,
and then we'll finish it off. Finish it off
yeah,
on your
no,
question.
you got. Oh, on the pod or on this topic?
No, the pod, because there's not really any games to really talk about this weekend, is there?
Well, that's what my final question was going to be. So I could give you. What game are you most fascinated by this weekend? Now I could give you Leverkusen versus Leipzig. I think Leverkusen is 7 points off Leipzig. Leipzig sit in 4th place. 7? Yeah, I think it's 7 because they failed to win. Last chance saloon for Leverkusen to have any chance of maybe putting some doubt in Leipzig minds, maybe some doubt creeping into Union and Freiburg minds. So that is the interest factor. I think that's the most interesting game from the Bundesliga. Normally, I would have said Dortmund, Eintracht, but Eintracht have been terrible lately. So, in terms of league form, and they're not really fighting for anything except Europa League. La Liga, we have a classical sort of game in Atletico versus Barca. I don't know, because Barca have already pretty much wrapped up the league. Do we really care about Barca? I haven't even watched them in the last 2 weeks. I am always interested to see Atletico and see if they can chase down Real Madrid. So maybe a bit of fascination. And as well, I think Atletico have been the best team in Spain over probably a couple of months now. Newcastle, Tottenham.
That's
Obviously,
the interesting one.
Yeah, obviously a big game for the race at the top 4. And from Italy, we have 2 big games in Juve against Napoli and Atalanta against Roma. So, obviously, I don't think Juve Napoli will be that intriguing in terms of stakes. It'll be that intriguing because of, the former kings of Italy wanting to take on Napoli now. But you know what? They're coming back off the back of European ties, both of them may be less intriguing. Atalanta Roma might be more intriguing, actually, because Roma occupy the 4th place spot now. Atalanta, I don't know if they can muster a charge for top 4, but they will be a good enough opponent for Roma, so it's imperative that Roma I would say continue to win, but we don't know what the Milan clubs are going to produce us this week, even though they're only playing Lecce and Empoli respectively. We don't know if both of them will win, so maybe a point for Roma will be a point gained. But that's interesting, but I think judging by your actions, Newcastle-Tottenham is probably the one you're taking.
Juve-Napoli could be interesting as well.
That is good for the names, for sure. But yeah, Newcastle-Tottenham. Why so? Do you think Tottenham? It's last chance for Tottenham, isn't it? They must win this game.
Because then they have Newcastle this weekend, and then next weekend they have United.
Yeah, it's 3 weeks of big games, I think, for Tottenham.
Yeah, so
or 4 if you wanted to. Yeah.
So if they don't win this, then I think that's their top 4 chances done.
Yeah, if they're not already done.
Yeah, if it's a loss, I think it's 100% done. If it's a draw, then there's still a chance there. But yeah,
it's a great opportunity though, isn't it, for Tottenham? Even though they'll have their own doubts after losing at home to Bournemouth, but they could really sow some seeds of doubt into those Newcastle minds by inflicting a second defeat in a row on them, especially after how limp Newcastle were at Villa last weekend. I don't know, it's perfect storm. I hate it. I think Newcastle is still a better team. I still think Newcastle will win this game. But if they lose this game, we must say depending on how they lose the game, they might, if they cop a jammy goal and then batter Tottenham for the rest of the game but just can't break them down, I don't think my opinion will really change. But if Tottenham come out there and Newcastle look limp and Tottenham just take advantage of that, then I'll be a bit worried about energy levels, given how intensely Newcastle have to play to be as good as they've been. And 2 losses in a row at this stage of the season. And if Tottenham score like 2 or 3 against them, and now all of a sudden that Newcastle defence is leaky, man, the whole narrative could shift this weekend around Newcastle. Ultimately, I don't think Tottenham are good enough to inflict that onto Newcastle.
Yeah, I don't think they are.
Yeah. So I might just be talking just to big up this game.
We're talking what ifs.
Yeah, well, what ifs. Big what ifs. Like what ifs that we don't expect to happen. So, I don't know. A few interesting games around Europe this season. I must admit my interest in football over the last 2 weeks has really waned. I need something to reinvigorate me. Those Champions League Arsenal City is the one.
That's going to be the filler. Yeah, that's going to be the filler before the Champions League semis.
Oh, I wouldn't. That would almost be doing it an injustice how big this game is.
But no, but not like the filler, but like that one that like gives us a good
reactivates me.
Yeah, just before all the big games come. But Caleb, any other final thoughts before we sign off?
No, I think everyone's heard enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll enjoy the games, what's left of them this weekend, and we'll reconvene early next week to talk about City Arsenal, I guess. Yeah. So everyone's
maybe hopefully some interesting things we saw on the weekend as well.
Yeah, hopefully. But for everyone's kept pace with us for the last 2 hours, make sure you like, subscribe, and all that stuff. And thanks for coming, and bye for now.